What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. We've looked at every region to date and sifted through the types that did not have any official specialist recognized by the Pokemon League. And the only region left is Galar. The Galar games brought back gyms to the franchise in a big way, and made the gym challenge a primary focus of your journey, creating a massive spectacle for fans to watch in their oversized stadiums, which is fitting for the new Dynamax gimmick also meant to enhance the gym experience. However, gym leaders in Galar are also different because they not only saw the return of version-exclusive leaders, but these had different type specializations as well. So the same spot had drastically different incidents depending on which game you chose. This of course being the case because they told us that the leaders have a tournament to determine which ones get the honor of claiming the gyms, so we know that there are more than we've seen. Altogether, across both versions, we saw Galar have 10 gym leader types. There were no Elite Four members since they do their champion titles a little bit differently. However, as I've been saying this whole time, what we see of the region is only a quick snapshot. After all, we saw no less than 2 gyms change hands in the main story of Sword and Shield. And the DLC proves this by introducing us to Clara and Avery, who eventually come to fill the roles of the Poison and Psychic leader respectively. And after spending enough time with him, we also find out that our Crown Tundra guide, Peony, was actually at one point a Steel-type gym leader for Galar, and even a champion. So, zooming out just a little bit in either direction simply solidifies what I've been saying all along. On a long enough timeline, every type will undoubtedly find a specialist. So, with that, the only holes left in Galar are normal, bug, electric, ground, and flying. So, starting off, the way they made the selection process sound, the first gym leader is such because they beat the rest of the options in the tournament, but still lost to everyone else that also made gym leader. So sort of the worst of the best, if you want to put it that way. But that makes me think that the bug-type specialist would definitely be in Turffield, since there weren't really any major cities outside of the ones that had gyms, but I figured that was just because they only had enough for the top 8 available, and the rest just wait around until next time. When they do well enough in the rankings, this leader would be a girl named Midge. And like the other gyms in Galar, they have some of the most sophisticated puzzles to date, if being somewhat easy on occasion. For our bug specialist, the insides would look very much like an ant farm, with all of the twists and turns that go with it to gather up enough food at the top. I think that could really look impressive when considering some of the other gyms in Galar. As for the team, Midge could easily have a Sizzlipede or a Snome, since the first gym doesn't usually have too much. But her ace would definitely be Orbeetle, a great new Pokemon that deserves more love. And even though Milo didn't have a special Gigantamax form, Orbeetle does. So I think if we wanted to, we could give the screaming crowds in the stadium a true introduction to the region's gimmick, and I think Gigantamaxing at the end of the first gym would be great. Midge would give out the TM for Skitter Smack and the Bug Badge. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the naming system for the Galar region, where they just use the types, so if I were to spend 2 seconds of effort, I might call it the Colony Badge instead. The next leader I feel like would be the Flying type specialist, and in the tournament they would probably fare around 3rd or so, which would place them in Motostoke, which makes sense to me with the gym building being so tall, effectively functioning as an aviary. Inside the gym, the puzzle would see you enter a room full of keys that are flying around, and it's up to you to chase after them and find the right one. I feel like that would be appropriate for a region based around the UK. You would of course face other trainers that would use things like Rookidee and Corvisquire. The leader, when they make the cut, would be Avi, a learned man who calculates the optimal usage of moves and the perfect angles to always hit the target, which pairs perfectly with this Noctowl that he would also have. But one thing I love about the Galar region is the fact they actually made some more primary flying types, like Cramorant for one, and the pure flying line of Rookidee that I just mentioned. So I think that Corviknight is the obvious choice for an ace, especially since it too has a Gigantamax form that can be used. Avi would give out the TM for Dual Wing Beat, which I realize was a tutoring thing, but still, it's a good move. And if we weren't to use the flying badge, I would call it the Nimbus badge. The next leader would probably end up around 4 or so in the rankings, and be stationed in Stow-on-Side, which is quite fitting because this would be the ground-type specialist, a young man named Garth. The insides of the gym would see you traverse an obstacle course with ropes and ladders and tires, but give you the go goggles because it gets increasingly more difficult as you climb due to the sandstorm that keeps getting worse. You can barely see by the end, but a leap of faith will have you at the end to the stadium tunnel. Young Garth's gym has a kind of a rough time since there weren't many new ground types added, but there are some, so Garth's team could have both Galarian Stunfisk and Runerigus, as well as his ace, Sandaconda, who also has a Gigantamax form that I actually kind of prefer over the standard form. But once you beat Garth, he will give you the TM for Scorching Sands, which is like the last one, but I love because it has a chance to burn. And probably just the ground badge, but honestly it should be something more like the Silt badge. Coming into the latter two, I imagine the normal type would be next, and given the options, would probably land somewhere in the rankings near Sirchester. The normal type leader for this one would be Nadine, a woman that has been surprising people with the underestimated strength of the normal type for years. Her gym puzzle in Sirchester Stadium would require trainers to successfully knock in the proper ingredients to a giant mixing bowl, and once you've defeated the trainers and activated the oversized blender, your recipe will be complete. After taste testing your concoction, she will judge if you're worthy of battle. Assuming she agrees, you would face her team with a Double and a Greedent, two fairly common normal types, but ones that can still take you down when you're not prepared. And she would also have an Indeedee, probably the opposite of whichever version you could catch in the wild. And while none of the new Galar normal types got Gigantamax forms, I think she could do well to have a Snorlax with that distinction. Snorlax is a powerful enough Pokemon already, so fighting a hyped-up version should be quite a challenge even towards the later parts of your journey. After beating Nadine, she will give you the TM for Chip Away and the normal badge, but I would rather have something like the Confection badge or some sort. And lastly, I believe in the tournaments for selecting these gym leaders' rankings, we would see the Electric-type specialist potentially all the way at the top in Hammerlock. Here would be a young woman called Faraday, and she would lead you to the section of the power plant that we already know is underneath Hammerlock Stadium. It's up to you to activate the switches to energize the power plant and get it started again. This would also be a good way to glimpse the power problems that Galar has, or will have in 100 years? Get some perspective, Rose. But when you get there, Faraday's team would start with Boltund and Pincurchin, and while that last one sort of flounders on its own, it would be the perfect partner to use in a double battle setup. And once you get through that round, she would send out her powerful Dracozolt, and of course, her Toxtricity. Which form doesn't really matter so much, since it will Gigantamax as her ace, which seems to be one of the more prominent Gigantamax forms, likely being the inspiration for the Turfield signs, and even showing up as a poster Easter egg before its time in Galar, that we can only know now by looking back. So being the primary Pokemon for the most powerful gym leader would be quite fitting. I think her electric power and double strategy would have elevated her to the top position, and was probably the reason that Raihan decided to switch to his own doubles format on top of using a Sandstorm gimmick to finally defeat this exceptional electric leader. When Faraday was still on top, she would hand out the TM for Thunderfang and give the electric badge, but really should just be the transistor badge. But that's just my views on the topic. And the exciting part is that we know for sure that these type specialists, or something like them, have existed in Galar before, because you can buy the uniforms in the shops, complete with logos and everything. So it might not be these specific ways that I've laid out, and of course there could even be other options than the ones that we've already seen. But I believe these to be an excellent representation of the remaining gym leaders in the Galar region. I really enjoyed doing this series and thinking about all of the things that Pokemon hasn't shown us. I hope that it has sparked your creativity as well, and maybe, if they want to, some other people might do their own spin on this one day. What do you think about all of the missing gym leaders in Pokemon? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, Share this video and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!